Well, hello, and welcome to the Hypno Fairy Godmother Show. I am Shirley, a clinical hypnotherapist with a private practice here in Southern California. And I'm a mental health first responder. I am a clinical hypnotherapist. I am also a crisis counselor. I'm anything that you really need. So, this is great. And thank you for coming to the show where you can come as you are and leave as you want to be. Do you wish you could more freely, enjoy a new healthy habit or just get back to feeling like a better you? Then let's definitely talk. Because although I specialize working with the LGBTQIA community, I work with everybody. I love working with everybody. So if you need help, I am definitely the person that, to call. And I love that about what I do. And I love that I can be on so many different so many different streams all over the place so I can get to as many of you as possible. And lately, I seem to be having a few little glitches here and there on different streaming sites. So, let me know where you're hearing me from and you're seeing me from so that way I can figure out if I'm still having a glitch in different places and what I need to do, because sometimes I think I'm streaming on one site and I'm actually not streaming on that site, and it gets a little confusing. So that just sort of helps me out a little bit, and I appreciate that. So, let's start out the show with a great big deep breath. Hold it. Exhale with a smile, because sometimes you just need to stop and breathe and relax everything. And I'm going to say that for this next part, it's really important that you're in a nice, safe place, that you're not doing anything, you're not concentrating on anything. Whatever you need, that's perfect. I don't want anybody getting into trouble. I don't want anybody driving off the side of the road. I have had people tell me that they'll be listening and they'll realize that they're actually closing their eyes, which is great if you're at home. It's great if you're at work not doing anything, but it is not great if you're in a car or you're supposed to be concentrating. So, safe place, you know? Just someplace that, and you can always rewatch the show later. You can always close your eyes afterwards. You can do all this whenever. This is not just something that you can do, at the beginning of my show. I want everybody to know that, do what you need to do. So let's start by wiggling those toes. Wiggling those toes. Inside your shoes, outside your shoes, I don't care. Depends on your weather. Some people are having crazy weather. Some people are having okay weather. So, you may want your socks on. You may want your shoes on. I'm having okay weather, so I'm out of my socks. I'm barefooting. But that can't be a big surprise to anybody that I'm doing that. So now let's wiggle your buns. Yep, I said it. Wiggle those buns. Squeeze in those cheeks. Get that blood circulating, and get your body moving a little bit. And we're going to take one more nice deep breath. And this time, as we exhale, give yourself an affirmation. Tell yourself something, we got this. It's going to be okay. Everything is cruising. Whatever it is that you need to tell yourself to get through the next part of the week or the day or the next hour. As per usual, my day was crazy today. And for some reason, on days that I don't have anything scheduled, nothing happens. On days that I have something scheduled, either an appointment or a meeting or a show, then things go a little nuts. So, sometimes you just need to take that deep breath and tell yourself that it's going to be okay. And then if you can, kind of roll your body, roll your shoulders, move your legs a little bit, get your neck going. Oh yeah. Come on, breathe it out. We need to get that blood circulating. We need to get moving. You need to drink water during the day. You need to drink water during my show. I do it all the time. So all of that stuff, because that way, you're now everything is going from your toes to your nose and above, and you've got everything circulating. And when it comes to your mental health, this is what we truly, truly need. So that's what we want to do. And just reminding you one last time, and I promise this is not a weird thing, but if you want to sponsor the show, buy me a cup of coffee, buy me a gallon of gas. Oh my Lord, it's getting crazy. You can always contact me on whisperingzen.net. You can always contact me on Patreon, and just look for me everywhere on social media at Hypno Fairy Godmother Show or Hypno Fairy Godmother. I'm the only Hypno Fairy Godmother out there. And how much more perfect can that that's what we want to do. So, and as a mental health first responder, I get asked, and as a hypnotherapist, we discuss mental health. But a lot of times people don't realize that even if you're not a crisis counselor or a mental health first responder, you're just a person, that we can still help people. You don't have to be fully trained to help people. You can just be you and help people. A little training always helps, but we can always, do things like that. And today might be a little heavy. Today might be, you may not feel that it relates to you, but maybe you'll pick up something great, because I feel like every once in a while we need to go over these things a little bit. Especially because, I'm doing more counseling and I'm doing more coaching and things like that. And, I do specialize working with the LGBTQIA community, and I love that. And it's something that you can do. But even if you're not, like I said, I work with everybody. And these are things that don't just relate to gay people, don't just relate to one community. These are things that, when it comes to mental health doesn't care. Your brain does not care. Your body does not care whether you're gay or straight. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. It doesn't matter what you are, who you are. It doesn't care. So all of these things, today I will actually be talking a little bit more in the LGBTQIA community, but, I don't care. Like I said, I'm going to help you no matter what. But, with everything going on in all of these states and all of these new laws going on, don't say gay. This is child abuse. That's child abuse. A supportive parent is not child abuse. A child abuse is a non-supportive parent. So some of these laws just drive me crazy. And when it comes to the LGBTQIA community, the suicide rate is 3 times higher than the straight community. And it's between 5 and 10% of LGBTQ youth have attempted suicide. But everybody needs help every day, because every life is important. Every single life is important. And some of the scarier statistics out there is that 1 in 5 students have had a mental health disorder. And for some, it's mild. And once they get counseling, they feel so much better. And this is awesome. And for others, it's more something that could be a chemical reaction. 50% of mental health issues are, you start getting diagnosed and you start noticing a little bit more, are between, most of the time it starts by age 14. So you're going through puberty and you're going through all these other changes. And sometimes, your mental health starts to waver just a little bit. And 75% of people notice if they're starting to have that mental health issue by age 20. I know a lot of people that aren't diagnosed, officially diagnosed, until they're in their mid 20s. And part of this depends on when you turned these ages. So when I turned in my 20s or when I was in my mid teens, people didn't talk about mental health. They never talked about mental health. You were just, you know, a little bit crazy and nobody knew how to react to you, and it was something that wasn't talked about, and there was no online. I know that's horrifying for some people, but there was no online, so you had nobody to turn to, which is why part of what I love to teach people and part of my personal journey is becoming that person that I wish I would have had growing up. I wish I would have had a chat line or a talk line that I could talk to that wasn't emotionally affected by who I was. Somebody that I could talk to, somebody that I could relate to. And I'm so glad that those lines are out there now, because suicide is the second most leading cause of death between 15 and 24-year-olds. How horrifying is that? You know, and that's why I've chosen to work with this community. And that's why I've chosen to work with, kids in this age group, because it is so much more important. And even if you're older, but, let's say you're in your mid 20s or your early 20s and you're starting your career after college or even right after, high school, you know, and 10.8 million, that is 10.8 million workers have some sort of mental health or substance disorder. And 35 million work days are actually lost by people that have mental illnesses. And a lot of times you don't know. Um, I was lucky. I worked for a company and I had a boss that noticed that my emotions went up and down and up and down. And they, instead of firing me, which is probably what they should have done, they pulled me aside. My supervisor pulled me aside and said, maybe you should go talk to somebody. We want to help you. And for that time, which was horror by all horrors, was the 1990s, which was one of those times that you didn't talk about it. And people just went, is it mental health? Is it you just crazy? Is it, your emotions were up and down? So, untreated mental illness costs the average company $105 billion a year. And most of that is lost to non-productivity. So you're having a bad day, you call off. And, you take time off for something. So and it's hard. And, when you get to the point to where you're 60 or 65 and older, 15% of those people have also been diagnosed with a disorder of some sort of mental health disorder. So it's not even just preteens or teens or whatever. There's never a cutoff. I talk about the preteens and teens and early 20s, but even as you get older, some people are getting diagnosed at a much older age. It's never too late. It's never, ever too late to take care of your mental illness. People are like, oh, well, I'm old enough and this is who I am, and so I'm just going to deal with it. No. if there's a chance that you can get help, and some people, all they need is a little counseling or somebody to vent to or whatever, and they feel so much better. Other people may need some sort of medication. Some people may need to make a lifestyle change, whatever it is, but it's never too late to start. I was really lucky, I guess, that before things got completely out of hand, and things were out of hand, but before they got even worse, I had somebody that took me under their wing and said, you know, here I am. I am here to help you. Um, and I want to be that person for other people. And you can be that person for other people, you know? And I sometimes think to myself, okay, I'm going through my own problems. I have my own stresses. I have my own problems. And do I have the right to help other people? And the answer is yes, because just because I'm going through my own thing doesn't mean that I'm not capable of helping somebody else go through their thing. Now, I have to keep the two separate. So if I'm counseling somebody or I'm listening to somebody, it's not for me to interject, because a lot of times that sounds condescending. When you're listening to somebody, you're talking to somebody, and as soon as they finish a sentence, you do oh, that's okay, but I have da da da. You don't want to ever top somebody. It's not a competition who's got it worse. You totally win because your life is more screwed up than mine. No. If somebody wants to talk to you, or, somebody wants to be there and you want to be there for somebody, it's about them at that moment. It's not about you at that moment. Um, and if you live in a rural area, it's, you know, you get, it's, mental health is more prevalent because there's aren't as many resources. You know, Before the time of the internet, there were no resources. Now, if you live in a rural area and you have internet access, you can find talk lines and chat lines and whatever you need to do. But, a lot of times nobody really knew, you know, and people often think, well, if, what can I do? And people think suicide prevention and helping people, it's just giving them a phone number, of the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which, I'm going to give it to you because it's always good to have on hand in case you do know somebody that's in crisis and you don't feel like you're up to the task of helping them. And that's okay. Sometimes helping somebody if they're having a crisis is giving them somebody to talk to. It doesn't have to be you, you know? So, sometimes the best thing you can do is go, I'm worried about you. If you need somebody to talk to, I don't feel like I'm capable of that, but here's the number of people who are qualified to talk to you, and it's an 800 number. It's 1-800-273-8255. And, that number will lead them to somebody that is trained. So if sometimes, like I said, the best thing you can do is give somebody an outlet. If, let's say, they're, part of the LGBTQ community, or just, a teenager in general, you can always give them the number to the Trevor hotline, Trevor Lifeline, where they can either talk to somebody or chat with somebody. And that's mostly for kids, let's say ages 12 to 24, where you have trained people. So, if you want to help somebody, but you don't feel like you're necessarily capable of doing it. Instead of brushing them off, have that number accessible. Literally, I have these numbers in my phone that I can just go, I'm here for you if you need to talk. But beyond that, I really, here's a number of people that, can really help you, that are qualified, that are trained, and sometimes, suicide prevention are things like food security, making sure that people have affordable housing, that, people have affordable health care, that you're not stigmatizing mental health, that they have people they can talk to, that they have, a community that they can go to, that they have some sort of financial security. These are things that can help somebody, and if you are in a work situation, you can also help somebody. Sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a coworker. You never know what somebody's going through. You don't. You can sit next to somebody and you're kind of friends with them or your acquaintances, and you don't know how to help them. So when helping a person that's going through some sort of mental health crisis, it's important to look for signs of suicidal ideology, little thoughts, little behaviors, non-suicidal self-injury, um, warning signs. There are lots of warning signs, but, did somebody just casually, and I know it sounds weird casually, but casually threaten to hurt or kill themselves? People will make a side comment. I wish I were not here. I wish I was dead. You know, did somebody, suggest that? Are they openly talking about what would happen if they weren't there anymore? Or talk about ways of killing themselves? Do people generally talk about feeling hopeless? Are they acting reckless or doing high risk activities? Are they using more drugs and alcohol than usual? You can kind of notice that. Or maybe something a little more noticeable might be, are they withdrawing from friends and family? Do they appear more agitated or angry? Are they having dramatic, change in mood? One of the things that I used to do was I could flip from laughing and being hysterical to being outright angry, just viciously angry. Are people acting like that? And if they are, or if you are, here's the thing. A lot of these things that I'm telling you, you may hear something that I'm saying and go, oh, geez, that could be me. Great. Not great that you have these issues, but great that you notice something so that you can get help. Because, like I always tell you have to help yourself before you can help others. And you may not feel like you're equipped to help others. So these are just kind of some signs, you know? Always seek emergency medical help if you are feeling like your life is in danger or you feel like somebody else's life is in danger. If you have a reason to believe that somebody is actively suicidal, like I said, there is that National Suicide Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. And if you need some way to kind of remember that, that's 1-800-273-TALK. TALK, so 8255. Sometimes it's easier to remember if you go by some sort of name. And like I said, do it that way. If somebody just needs to talk, listen to the person non-judgmentally. If you feel like you're capable, if you feel like you're mentally able to do it, and somebody says, I just need somebody to talk or vent to, it may seem simple, but the ability to just listen and have a meaningful conversation requires skill and patience, and a lot of patience. because listening is critical in helping an individual feel respected, accepted, and understood. And that's all people really want. That's all what most people really want. And, there's a whole thing on mental health first aid. I am certified in mental health first aid. What am I looking for? What do I need? And it teaches you to use like verbal and nonverbal skills, such as an open body posture. If somebody's talking to you and you're all like this, or you're kind of looking around, or, you're checking your phone or you're checking your watch or whatever, that's about the worst thing that you can do. Sometimes I'll get all wrapped up and my wife has to look at me and go, uncurl. I can tell that you're, go by that body posture. If somebody's talking to you and you are really into what they're saying, open up. Let them know that you're there. Because sometimes eye contact is what a person needs. Sometimes you just need to be there as a shoulder for somebody to cry to or vent to. Showing up and bringing a cup of coffee or a tea or whatever, and just going, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to respond. And always ask, do you need advice or do you just need me to listen? And that sentence right there is one of the greatest sentences that I learned is, do you need help or do you just need me to listen? And they'll tell you. They will absolutely tell you what they need. And sometimes people have never been asked that question. They just assume that people are going to give them their opinion. Well, sometimes I don't want your opinion. I absolutely do not want their opinion. I just need somebody to vent. And sometimes I do need their opinion. So I'll go, okay, let me vent. And then what do you think? So it's important to ask, when talking to somebody that you believe may be experiencing some sort of mental illness, approach the conversation with respect and approach it with dignity and not blaming the individual for their symptoms. That's important. Don't try to one-up them. Again, do not try to up them. And if somebody's having a problem, it always makes me laugh because, you'll talk about something you're going through and things aren't going right. And somebody will always inevitably say, well, just snap out of it. You have so much to live for. Everything's okay. And what that does is, although you may think that you're helping somebody out, what you're actually doing is making that person feel like their symptoms and what they're going through doesn't matter. So that's why I always say, ask them, do you want my opinion? Do you not want my opinion? I've had people they'll ask you how you're doing, and you think you can tell that person. Be honest. Most people, when you ask them how they're doing, they will just automatically go, oh yeah, fine. But look at that person when they say fine, if their shoulders are slouched or if they're up like this or, they're curled up into a ball or they're really fidgety and they say fine, or you can tell by the tone in their voice. Go, okay, but I hear what you're saying, but know that I'm here for you. Don't push, but just say something like, I'm here for you. And you can do this as an adult with a coworker. You can do this as a friend or family member. You can do this as an adult with a child. But whoever you say that to, make sure that you sound sincere. Sometimes we tend to sound condescending, which has to do with giving bad advice or advice that's not warranted. And you never want to give that advice that's not warranted. I've had so much bad advice in my life. And you start to think that, it's weird, but you kind of make a mental note and go, okay, this person I can talk to you about this. This person I absolutely, let's just keep it, let's talk about anything else but how I'm really doing. I have people in my life that I can talk to and vent to, and after I'm done, they'll just go, you feel better? And I'll go, yeah, I feel a lot better. Thank you very much. Everything's great. I can go on with my day. I have people that they ask me how I'm doing. I say, fine. We totally change the subject. Because, first of all, I know I can't vent to that person. I know that whatever I say, they're going to try to one up it. And you know that person in your life. We all have those people. We have the people that we can talk to that honestly care about how you're feeling when you're going through any type of mental health disorder, mentally, physically, emotionally. Some people have what are known as invisible, physical ailments. By looking at somebody, people go, oh, well, you look fine. Okay, I may look fine, but inside, you don't know what they're really going through. And we all know people that we can count on, and we know people that we can't count on. So, and don't assume, never assume what a person's going through, because you don't know. You can have people that you work with and that you deal with every day, and you don't know what's going on in their lives. They may be going through the most traumatic thing that they have ever gone through in their life. Maybe a person is passed, or a sudden death, or a friend, or they're going through some sort of crisis, and they will actually look at you and smile and go, everything's good. Because those people have set up such big walls that they have closed themselves off. So don't assume that just because, and that's a good time to tell people, okay, but just know that if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you. I actually did that. I was at an event this weekend, and I could tell by their body language that they were going through something, but it wasn't really an appropriate time because of the situation for me to have a heart-to-heart or to step aside and let that person vent. So I just made sure that they knew how to get a hold of me. And if they ever just needed to text to get it all out, if they just needed me to listen, and said, I'm here for you. If you need that person that's not emotionally connected to what your problem is, because sometimes it's hard to talk to family or your best friends or whoever, because not that they don't care, but sometimes after they've heard you, they start to kind of ignore you. And maybe they're doing it unintentionally, but they do kind of do that. So, it's kind of weird, and a good thing to do is encourage people if they're going through something to, you can go, well, give them an example of what you do. Maybe you make sure every day you go out for a walk and you get some air and you listen to a certain type of music and go, this is what I do when I'm stressed. A lot of times people will go, oh, so I'm not alone. Sometimes you just want to know that you're not the only one. And I know other people that I've talked to have spent most of their lives thinking that they're the only one that has this problem. And you realize there's millions of people out there that have the same issue they do. And once you realize that, it kind of makes you feel more connected. It makes you feel a little less crazy. So sometimes I go, with me, it's about meditation and it's about relaxation and mindfulness. And this is what I do. Sometimes I'll sit and write. I'm in the middle of writing a story right now. And sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, the words will just flow. And other times I'll look at the page and go, oh, this isn't so, let me go back to my breathing and meditation. Maybe you've read a book, a self-help book that just resonated with you, and you think it may resonate with somebody else. Awesome. You can always go, if you know somebody's going through a situation like they've confided in you. Oh yeah, if somebody confides in you, it is not your responsibility. It's not your right. It's not up to you, and it's wrong to tell somebody else. You do not, if somebody has confided in you, the worst thing that you can do is tell somebody else. And it's not that that person has to say, please don't tell anybody else. Just know that you don't do it. You absolutely just keep it to yourself. When I have clients, or when I've talked to somebody, or when I've, worked on different lines, and, sometimes I'll be texting with a client or texting with, a person, and I don't immediately tell. Most of the time I don't say a word. Sometimes my partner will actually go, who are you texting with? And I'm like, I'm texting with a client. And she'll just go, oh, okay. I'm not going to go, oh my God, and guess what's going on? It's not for me. Even if they don't know who that person is, you have no right or responsibility to tell anybody what somebody else is going through. And that should be something I shouldn't have to say, but I know therapists that will have a client and go onto Facebook and talk about that client. Now, if you're trying to help a client and you need suggestions, there are specific groups that I belong to that are private groups, and it doesn't go out to anybody else. It just goes out to a small group of people. Perfect. Then you can, but don't go, guess what I heard today? Somebody else's issue is not gossip, especially if it's a work situation, but it could be a family situation. If somebody in your family tells you something, it's not your right or responsibility to tell everybody else. Like I said, I deal with things every single day, and I don't tell my wife about it. It's not my right to tell her everything. It's not my responsibility to tell her things. Sometimes I'll vent a little bit and go, maybe I'll describe a situation and go, this really threw me off today. But I'm not going to go, oh my God, guess what happened? No. If somebody trusts you enough to tell you something, unwritten rules, just don't tell anybody. Hopefully you have, friends that you can talk to, that you have somebody else you can talk to. Some of your best resources are maybe people that you have as friends that you've had, for a long time. Maybe your best resource is a family member that, a cousin, whatever, that you can talk to. Maybe, it's a work acquaintance that you've become really close to. Now, the problem with work acquaintances is sometimes you actually have to say things like, please don't tell anybody, because, man, work gossip, crazy. Yeah, you don't want to do that. And if you're at work and you know somebody, let them know. Like I said, let them know that you're there for them. If you're a supervisor, let the people underneath you, take them aside. Don't talk to them in front of everybody else. Number one, don't ever go outside, take a walk with them and go, I just wanted to let you know that I've noticed that, this is between us. I've noticed that maybe you might need somebody to talk to, or do you need a mental health day? Do you need help? And just doing that increases the likelihood that an employee will reach out if they are facing a mental health or substance abuse challenge. Knowing that somebody cares enough, make sure that, if you have managers underneath you, that they're trained and informed on how to handle employees that might come to them. Maybe somebody feels comfortable enough to come to you. Make sure that either you know what to do to handle it, or you can send them to somebody that knows what the heck to do. I love going into companies and teaching them, this is what you do in case somebody comes to you. I know it sounds a little strange that you would be doing that, but, training. And sometimes it's going through weeks and weeks and weeks of counseling training and weeks and weeks and weeks. And if you don't have the time for that, have a resource. That's why like I said, in my phone, I have suicide prevention number. I have the number for the Trevor Project crisis counseling line. I have numbers of, different groups. There are meetups. And some meetups are online. So if you're a little socially, not ready to get out there quite yet, that's fine. You can connect via online if you do feel like you're ready, and you feel like getting out there and want to talk. Believe me, there are groups for every possible situation. And part of your mental health might be joining a group of a hobby of yours. There are groups out there that do everything from learning how to juggle and comic books and weird, any type of hobby you may have. There is a group out there for you. And sometimes, if you're going through something, a great thing to do is, doing something that you've always wanted to do. Encouraging somebody to get out there, start, and helping them and encouraging them. My wife knows how to juggle. I don't know how to juggle, but there's a juggling group out there that's local that we have gone to, and it's not that I know how to juggle, but I'm there to support. She juggles, I don't. It's okay. But I'm there to support. I belong to a group that, she doesn't, but she supports me in that group. Even though you may not, be there as a friend, be there as a support group. Even if it's something that you don't do, go, would you like for me to go with you? Would you like for me, do you feel comfortable going? When you're working with somebody's mental health, encourage that you're going to be okay. Encourage them. Basics, I love to teach people, that 3-minute breathing exercise, that mental health compassion pause, I love to teach people, my favorite, honestly, my favorite is the 3-minute breathing space, because it's 3 minutes. Now, if somebody's got longer than that, I will actually teach people how to do a body scan. So if they feel like they're starting to slide in any way, one of my ways of helping is asking, would you like to learn? And that's important. Make it up to them. Don't just force it upon them going, you need to learn this, or you need to read this book, or no, go, would you be interested in? So I always ask, would you be interested in learning how to do something in 3 minutes? If you're not somebody that is used to meditation or is used to mindfulness, it's okay. Go, give me 3 minutes. I can guarantee, well, don't guarantee, but I usually go, I can pretty much guarantee you that if you do this for 3 minutes, That's a wonderful way to start. Because a lot of people, if you talk about meditation or mindfulness, they're thinking it's going to take an hour. And I go, nope, 3 minutes, I got you going. So, it's that asking yourself, how am I doing right now? I will literally have people put a Post-it note on their work computer or on their refrigerator, on their mirror in their bathroom that just says, how am I doing right now? Because that'll click in your mind. Check in with yourself. Always good to check in with yourself. Because that'll tell you, your brain will go, how am I doing? Take into consideration how they're doing, but I make it a suggestion. Even when I'm working with my clients, whether I'm working as a hypnotherapist, whether I'm there as a coach, whether I'm there as a crisis counselor, as a mental health first responder, whatever it is that I'm helping them, even if it's just as a friend, I go, I can tell you're stressing out. Would you like to learn how to do this? And sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll say no, and either way, that's fine. If they say no, go, okay. If you decide you'd like to learn something, I gotcha. And I immediately, it's just a thing with me. I teach people how to breathe. Breathe properly, breathing from your core. It's important, and I teach people how to do that. And how to pay attention to your breathing. Pay attention to how that deep, slow breathing affects your whole body, affects everything. It's wonderful how your body can do that. And if somebody's going through a crisis, sometimes I'll ask, do you want to learn how to breathe with me? And, sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. It's all right, but staying focused with what your mind is doing, staying focused with what your body's doing, making contact with yourself, physical contact with yourself. Sometimes you don't always have people that you have access to that can give you a hug. A hug is like, and some people aren't huggers, I know this, but sometimes giving somebody even a virtual hug and having them close their eyes and giving themselves a hug. You need to have that connection. People need to have a connection. Whether they're going something mentally, they're going through something physically. You need to have that connection with people. You need to have that connection with yourself. And you can teach people this. You can teach kids this. I think it's so important. And a lot of times, parents or people that have nieces and nephews, kids, whatever, they don't think, they just assume that kids are kids are kids. No, kids are stressed out just like anybody else. I know a person that's locally that teaches kids meditation, teaches them as young as 3 and 4-year-olds how to vent, how to meditate, how to get rid of anger, because it's important for them to know. Her program is amazing. It's never too early and it's never too late. People go, well, I haven't been doing this for a while. I've never learned how to do this. Why do you think I can learn this? Because you can. It's never too early to teach a youngster how to do it. It's never too late to teach an oldster how to do it. And by oldster, that can be any age. That can be absolutely any age. But pay attention. Pay attention to the people around you. If you notice something, maybe say something. Maybe leave them a note. I have given out my text number to people and said, if you need me, I'm a text away. Don't feel like you're obligated to do that. And like I said, if you don't feel like you're mentally able to do that, or you'll have time to do that, then don't. Maybe give them somebody else's number. or give them an access. Don't just give them somebody else's number. That sounds kind of weird. Give them the number to some place that can help them out. And do it as a friend. Do it as a colleague. Do it as a parent. Be there for somebody. It's hard sometimes to get out of your own way. And I always suggest, if you have access, calling a friend, calling a family member, maybe somebody that you haven't heard from in a while, just to say hi and see how they're doing. Some people need to know that. So, and I will always encourage you to take breaks, to get out there, to get some fresh air. I know right now people are going through some really weird weather for April. So sometimes it's not easy to go out. Places that shouldn't have snow right now. So, maybe a little extra meditation, or if you feel like it, go out and take your walk in the snow. Experience that. Experience the cold. See if there are still flowers and stuff out there that are trying to peek through. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Sometimes things that you notice that you hadn't noticed before. Actually be in the moment. Be mindful. Being in the moment. So, I hope today that maybe I, gave you a suggestion. Maybe I said something I've said before that all of a sudden clicks. You never know. So I want to thank everybody for listening today. It has been a pleasure, and I do mean a true pleasure, to be even a small part of your journey. And I hope that it's been calming and soothing and maybe funny, or I said something crazy. But most of all, I hope that wherever you are, you're leaving just a little bit closer to who you are and who you want to become. I am Shirley Yance, clinical hypnotherapist, activist, mental health first responder, crisis counselor. You know all my titles. Your hypno fairy godmother at Whispering Zen Hypnotherapy and Wellness. And I work with my clients. Maybe you are one of my clients. Maybe you'd like to become one of my clients. And we work as a team to find out the easiest way. Things are not cookie cutter. One size does not fit all. We work together to find out what works best for you. And I work online, which is wonderful because I can be wherever you are. And, as long as we get our time zones right, we're in. So I know that hypnotherapy isn't for everybody, and hypnosis can be a little bit scary. So if you want to see if we can work together, I would love that. And you can always book a consultation with me at, Whispering Zen, .net, whisperingzenhypnotherapy.com. Find me on a million different social media sites. Look for Hypno Fairy Godmother. Trust me, I am on Twitch. I am on Facebook. I am on YouTube. I am on Instagram. I am on TikTok. If you name it, I'm pretty much on there. I'm kind of, I'm the girl that's everywhere. So if you know where, you can find me. So remember, we're going to take one more last deep breath. We're going to hold it. We're going to slowly exhale. Have that smile on your face. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Remember to tell your friends about the show, because the whole idea is to grow and get the word of mental health out there. And know that it's not always a sad thing. Mental health can be easy. It can be enjoyable. It can be fun. Let it go. Let it be who you are. So, like I said, thanks everybody. And I will definitely see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.